What is up, my friends, and welcome to the UFL Week In Review, one of the longest running UFL podcasts in human history. This is episode 22. In this week's episode, we've got a jam-packed show for you. We'll be diving into UFL's midseason review, looking at the league's strong markets, struggles, and the talk of expansion and new trademarks. You're not going to want to miss that. Plus, we'll reveal the UFL News Hub's midseason all-UFL team and analyze the ratings and attendance numbers for Week 5 games. Plus, stick around as we update our UFL Power Rankings, preview Week 6 odds, spreads, and DFS tips. You don't want to miss the latest news about the Showboats events and UFL partnerships for the 2025 season. So let's get ready to tackle this week's UFL action.
USFL is in business.
The XFL is underway.
There's no doubt spring just got stronger.
Let's take a look at the UFL Power Rankings for Week 5. This one's going to be a little tough for me to go through, thanks to our main man, Jonathan Klink, for his update. So, of course, number 1, Birmingham Stallions. They're undefeated. They're 5-0. They beat Houston. We knew they were going to do that. They are definitely number 1 on the list. Number 2, Cacaw is the law, my friends. We will see you in St. Louis for the UFL Championship game. I have a feeling St. Louis will be part of that. The way they are firing all cylinders. Here's an interesting thing to look at the St. Louis Battlehawks. So they're 4-1. Number 2, and they only lost to Michigan in that big, crazy game with the kick by Jake Bates. But they beat Arlington. That was kind of close, 27-24. Now the offense started to get going. Remember, they defeated San Antonio on the road and with a good defense. They put up 31 points. Memphis Showboats, they've been bad all season long, put up 32 points. And then against the DC Defenders, put up 45 points. Ja'Cour Pearson is back in the lineup. I think they have the best wide receiving core in the league, and also Jacob Saylor is probably one of the better running backs in the league. So their offense is firing on all cylinders. They have Pitta. They have a good defense. They a matchup against the Birmingham Stallions in a championship game in the Dome would be fantastic. St. Louis is looking like they're going to buzzsaw. But again, nothing, you never know. We all know what happened with the Arlington Renegades and also injuries. Don't want to put that out there, but that is a thing that could happen as well. San Antonio Brahmas at number 3. Definitely, I believe that. I am concerned about Quentin Dormady as their quarterback. He hasn't really put up great numbers. They just ran all over Arlington. They defeated Michigan 19-9 in Week 4, but didn't really put up a lot of points like they do with Chase Garbers. So we will have to see how they do, and hopefully he comes back later on in the season. Michigan Panthers, I agree, at number 4. They're 3-2. They seem to be the other playoff team headed in this league, as now we're going to start talking about elimination of playoffs and all that kind of stuff after Week 6. They defeated Memphis 35 on the road. CJ Perry was out, but they just ran all over with Matthew Colburn and Wes Hills just crushing it. So Danny Etling, not super fan of his. We will have to see where that goes. DC Defenders on the outside looking in, crushed at home. And I've heard people, while I was hanging out at the games, the offensive coordinator, Reggie Barlow, Jordan Tamu, no. Wide receivers are dropping balls. He's got nobody to throw to, and they have no running game either. So it is not on. I think they stacked up their defense, which I think is better this year. They just dropped DJ Swearinger. I was surprised by that because he's one of the better players, but they wanted to give younger guys an opportunity. I mean, then why do you have them in the first place? I don't know. But they did that to bring in some younger guys, I guess, to see how they do. But we have to turn that game around this week. This is a critical game if the DC Defenders want to keep pace with the Michigan Panthers for that final playoff spot. Houston Roughnecks at 1-4. Of course, everybody loses to Birmingham. They lost last week. They were 6. DC Defenders were ranked 4, and then they dropped down to 5. Then we got Arlington Renegades at number 7 at 0-5. They lost to everybody. They've been 0-7. And then the Memphis Showboats, he has them at 8. They did win one game. They defeated Houston on the road, but Houston is Houston. But this team has struggled all season long. I would say they're my big disappointments. They're at number 8, and they previously at 8. So, I mean, I agree. I think the Arlington Renegades, even though they're 0-5, they almost beat St. Louis. They almost beat DC. They lost to Houston. That didn't look good. And then San Antonio also. Could Arlington get off the schneid? We'll have to find out. But those are your rankings, your power rankings. Have we go into the week 6 season of the UFL? All right, we have our midseason review. We're taking a look at the strong markets, struggle, expansion talk, and new trademarks. This has been something I've been playing around with for a while. So we'll get into what's kind of going on here as we look at the halfway point of the 2024 UFL season, taking stock into which franchises are doing well, which ones aren't, who could be coming, who can be going. I have talked to a lot of people within the league, people outside of the league, trying to get a gauge of kind of where things are moving and how people are feeling about things. And this is kind of the culmination of that in this article that I wrote. So, of course, the markets that are looking good for the 2024 season, because here's the thing, that there is going to be some kind of change next year. We'll get into that. But one of the things I want you to pay attention to, and that this kind of really signaled it for me. So we'll talk about the markets that are looking good for 2024. So, of course, St. Louis Battlehawks and DC Defenders, no question about that. Birmingham Stallions and Arlington Renegades. Now, if you noticed, there was a thing that the UFL came out with their they had these new jackets, and it wasn't all the teams, but it was just a handful of teams, and those were DC Defenders, Birmingham Stallions, Arlington Renegades, St. Louis Battlehawks. Those 4 teams. And I was like, that's kind of interesting because these markets are not going anywhere. St. Louis is St. Louis, DC, great market. Birmingham Stallions, they have a relationship. You can't shut down the 2-time champion. Their venue is kind of questionable. Every time there's a rainstorm, they got to evacuate. Is it the best market? But they can't get rid of it at this point, and with the partnerships and whatever. And of course, the Arlington Renegades are kind of doing mid, but they have their agreement. Remember, they got paid by the city. That's the hub of the UFL, so they can't get rid of the Arlington Renegades. And I think the San Antonio Brahmas, while they're not the AAF, or I think they are coming along. They have Wade Phillips. They got an exciting team. They've got a good venue. I think they'll be fine. And I think they've all demonstrated that their market is viable. They've got enthusiastic crowds. They're generating buzz locally. The Battlehawks are definitely generating a lot of buzz locally, where DC and some of the other markets are starting to build interest. So I think those franchises are fine. And this is stuff that I'm hearing from talking to other people as well. Now, on the other hand, there's other teams that have faced difficulties attracting fans and generating excitement. The Michigan Panthers, Memphis Showboats, and Houston Roughnecks have all struggled to gain traction in their markets. And each team has its kind of unique challenges, but these are the franchises that I would keep an eye on. Michigan Panthers, I mean, remember, Michigan Panthers, Memphis Showboats have been around for multiple seasons and still has not generated any juice. So it's not like this is the first season of them. Houston Roughnecks, they get a reprieve. They're at a different stadium. Things have kind of moved around, but Houston is a good market, and it is a football town. They want to keep 3 teams in Texas. So I think Houston is fine, but they have been struggling, and maybe I think they'll be fine, but they are definitely struggling this season. Now, expansion is the key, is what people like to talk about. So multiple people that I've talked to, and they have all confirmed that this was part of the merger agreement. Remember, the government was delaying things. Part of it was because they were going from 16 teams to 8. And so as a compromise, they said, we'll let you start with 8 for the 2024 season, but then you have to expand to 10, maybe 12 in 2025. I don't think they'll go 12. I think 10, or there might be a shuffling, but I believe that I don't know if they have to. I mean, who knows? This can all be negotiated, but that's kind of currently what the deal is. And they're actively exploring more new markets right now as we speak, and they have been doing that for quite some time. So there's possibility that some current teams may be put on pause or just folded altogether to add stronger markets to join the United Football League. Now, one of the interesting things over the past 2 months, I haven't talked about it on the show. It's been talked about on social media, but the Fox-owned arm of the United Football Leagues, that's the USFL Enterprises LLC, has trademarked several names, which of course fuels this speculation. The Canton Bulldogs, Ohio Bulldogs, and Nashville Tuners have all been trademarked recently. suggesting that these cities might be in the mix for future teams. It's funny because the XFL in 2020 was very hidden about their trademarks and not getting things out. They were very coy and about all that stuff. These leagues, I mean, we knew that the United Football League was a trademark thing for a while, so it was no shocker. They don't play those tricks because I think they're just trying to survive. So additionally, also in the past week, the Aviators name and the Conquerors logo, both franchises that were part of the Spring League. Remember, the Spring League was Fox's precursor to the USFL, run by Brian Woods, have been trademarked also by the USFL Enterprises LLC. Could those names be used for another franchise down the road? We don't know. That maybe at a location that they are potentially looking at that they don't have a name yet. Now, I'm telling you what I'm hearing is that Canton is not on the cards. There's just not enough strong market. Remember, you're trying to build this. You need strong markets. Like maybe they could be an expansion team if you're going to 16 or 18 or something like that. But right now, you're just trying to get at least eight solid markets. And right now, you have about 5, which potentially 6 with Houston if they can kind of get their act together. So I think Canton is out. I think Ohio is questionable. The one that I'm hearing is that Nashville could potentially be things. So a Nashville team, a good market, Nashville Tuners could be something to keep an eye on. Now, as far as new teams on the XFL side, remember we have the XFL, Dwayne John, like that, that own half, and then USFL side owns half. There's been no talk of any new teams, but it would be likely, from what I'm hearing, that the Seattle Sea Dragons or the Orlando Guardians would be one of the teams to return. Seattle Sea Dragons and Orlando Guardians both outperformed the USFL franchises, including the 2-time champion Birmingham Stallions in attendance and interest. And I think one of the things that's impacting this league is now that you're down to 8 teams, and if you think about it, and I was talking to my wife about this, is that in 2020, XFL News Hub was just crushing it. And then, COVID happened. 2023, it was about half of what the interest was. And then this year, we had to restart a new site. We're in the Google sandbox. So it's hard to tell, but definitely nowhere near as it was last year. And part of the reason, I believe, is that when the 2020 season, they were in Los Angeles, huge market, even though the attendance wasn't that great. And then New York, also huge market. So having these huge markets just in general brings in more fans. So like, I love Canton. I don't want Canton to have a franchise. Give me a market like Philadelphia that has more people, because those are more people that will be interested in the product. So they have to go out for bigger markets. Seattle is a good market. Orlando was a good market. So I really think that Seattle Sea Dragons could be back next season, whether they get rid of Memphis and add Seattle, or they go to 10 teams. We'll just kind of have to see how that all plays out. Again, this is all fluid situation. So potential rumored locations for 2025, several cities have emerged. Philadelphia, I've heard New Orleans, and I've heard Nashville. And of course, you have the Nashville Tuners trademark. So that kind of adds fuel to those things. Again, Nashville, New Orleans, Philadelphia, good markets. You want a big, sizable market to bring in fans. You don't want to go into Idaho, or some small town, we'll say Canton, even though Canton could potentially draw from Cleveland, maybe Cincinnati, maybe they could be the central hub of all Ohio teams. I don't know, but then I just don't know if that works. But a city like Philadelphia, example, is like one of the largest cities in the country, is in that top 10 list, New Orleans, Nashville. So that's kind of where we want to stick your flag down in a large market. Now, that being said, there's no way that they're going back into any California or New York is off the table between taxes and insurance costs, and especially California is just not even like on the radar. And it's a shame because San Diego would be a perfect spot to basically have your St. Louis Battlehawks 2.0, but because of how all the taxes and insurance policies and all this other stuff that's outside of just finding a stadium, I've heard that they're just not even looking at those kind of markets. Now, what it looks like now, what's been interesting over the last couple of weeks, UFL President Russ Brandon, Daryl Johnston, Director of Football Operations, have made a strong push in the Memphis market. They were both boots on ground, doing press. Daryl Moose Johnston was doing press on radio shows and TV shows. Also, they're doing a bobblehead. Have you noticed that they're the only ones? I mean, forget about what people say. It's read the tea leaves and what they're actually doing. They're doing a bobblehead night, which is awesome. I want a bobblehead. Bobbleheads were always a staple for Major League Baseball and minor league baseball marketing to draw people in. To me, this feels like a last-ditch effort to breathe life into that market. Even though Fred Smith, the FedEx owner, was the guy who wanted the team there, it is just not juicing at all. And it's a shame because I think it would be a great market. It's kind of one of the smaller markets. Fred Smith having his money involved in the league would be a good thing, but just the league is just not, it's just, I mean, this team has been around for a while. And a bobblehead giveaway, which no one else is doing, I think shows that they're pouring money and effort into that location to see if they can get it going. And I think this, to me, feels like a last-ditch effort. Like if they come out of this thing with 8,000 fans or 7,000 fans, then it's just the market is just not there. They could pause it for Fred. I mean, I think the idea is that he would be definitely an owner in UFL team, but I mean, he's not going to buy a team unless he buys it now and takes over the marketing effort. But just right now, it's just not. All the UFL locations are just not doing as well as the XFL locations are. Michigan has a good team, but again, their attendance numbers also continue to decline. If there's no ownership, Michigan is a good market, but if they're not, they've been around. All these teams have been around for basically 3 years. And if they haven't had any kind of foothold now, what makes to say what? You're just going to throw some money at it, that it will? Maybe it's better off to go in other directions. So while the situation is fluid and subject to change, here's some of my predictions about potential 10-team lineup for 2025 based on the need for the UFL to generate revenue and the ease of maybe being in a fresh market could generate a lot of excitement. You don't have that legacy hangover from the USFL teams and their prices and everything like that with Memphis and Michigan. So if you go into Philadelphia, for example, that's fresh, that's new. You're not having, $10 ticket prices and giveaways and all this other stuff that you had 2 years ago that fans might have expect. So the XFL division teams staying: St. Louis, DC Defenders, Renegades, Brahmas. I think adding the Seattle Sea Dragons is probably more likely than anything else. In the USFL division, Birmingham Stallions, even though they're kind of Houston Roughnecks, I think they'll get a reprieve because of the stadium situation and they're a good market. Remember, they were a good market in 2020. So I think they'll be fine for there. But I definitely put them on the list just because you've seen their numbers are dwindling. I think either Memphis or Michigan stays and one of them goes. I don't think both of them will be back next year. I would probably lean towards Michigan because of all the stuff that's going on with Memphis. Is like they're trying to like revive this location to get some kind of juice going. Otherwise, they have to kind of move on. I think adding new locations in 2025 in the USFL division, I think Nashville is looking like we got the trademark. It's a good location. Nashville, and it's something new. New Orleans, I've heard, bringing back the Breakers. New Orleans is a good town. And then, of course, Philadelphia. Why not? The Stars. Philadelphia had a good team. Bringing those back, that's a good market as well. I would say maybe Nashville I would be kind of leaning on as that location. But again, everything is fluid, my friends. So as we reach the midpoint, this is when we have to talk about a lot of fans are interested in seeing what goes on. And that's the thing I think that's affecting our sites. I mean, I think the television ratings are great. That has been out of the, that's been no question. So now look at the markets that are very interested in the league and stick a team in there, and then you're off to the races. So they're getting data. I think the ratings are good. I think the way they have the television package set up, even though you had overlap games, I think that's fine just to get them on national television. It's so much better to have 2 games on Fox than putting 1 game on FS1, if that makes sense. So I think that they have down pat. So we'll have to kind of see. But I put in here that the runway, I mean, I had talked to a bunch of people, and everybody, including people within the XFL and USFL, were stunned about the merger. they were all surprised that it happened. They knew figured it was going to happen eventually. It happened a lot sooner. Because of that, I think their runway towards another season or two is shorter. Like, they have to get their act together now. Their runway is short for spring football. So it's sink or swim with all of these franchises. Butts in the seats, from what I've heard, is critical to the operation of the United Football League. I've spoken to multiple people around the league and outside of it, because fans in the stands kind of get everything going. Fans in the stands generate sponsorships. Fans in the stands, which then generates revenue for the league. Having fans in the stands and people watching the product on Fox and ABC and ESPN, that generates interest. You will go and see a St. Louis Battlehawks game and you're like, wow, there's something to this league. That also plays into it as well. And that's why I think they're kind of focusing on those things. So they just keep that in mind. I think, like I said, having the TV games on major league or on major TV networks is great. I think that is perfect. Again, this is it. If this crew cannot get this done, no one's going to be able to have a successful spring football league in this country. I just don't think it will happen. There's a lot of startups and people are going to try to do different things, indoor football, all this other stuff. No, this is it. If you want a strong leagues, I think this has to be the league. This is the foundation, and then all other leagues will kind of take off from there. So let us know what you think in the comments about this expansion, about potential. What about the midseason performance of some of these markets? Should they get a reprieve in 2025? Let us know in the comments. Pat Ruffino has his UFL News Hub midseason all-UFL team. Let's break it right down. Of course, quarterback A.J. McCarron, no-brainer there. Unofficial MVP of last year, will be another MVP this year as long as everything goes well. Running back, he's got Ricky Pearson Jr., Birmingham Stallions, has been the vulture, calls him. Found his way atop the rushing leaderboards and currently leads the UFL in rushing touchdowns. He was part of the IFL's Massachusetts Pirate. He is very valuable for the Birmingham Stallions. Wes Hills, I was kind of worried about him, but he's kind of definitely been playing better. Wes Hills, running back from Michigan Panthers. He has been, I didn't have him in my DFS lineups, but I have him now, so he is definitely on there. Fullback, he's got Sage Surratt for the Memphis Showboats. And, of course, wide receivers, I would assume it's going to be all Battlehawks, but we'll see. Hakeem Butler, of course, just crushed the DC Defenders. He'll probably be on an NFL roster again next year. I mean, just a big body. Marcus Sims, Michigan Panthers, been consistent for the Panthers, but now that EJ Perry's out, that's been kind of wishy-washy with him. Definitely a staple that I've had in my DFS lineups. John Trey Kirkland left off where he was in the XFL, one of the most exciting wide receivers in the league. San Antonio Brahmas. I'm concerned about Dormandy as their quarterback, but he consistently puts up big numbers. And he didn't play a full season, and he was still up there on the leaderboards. David Davis, Memphis Showboats, despite everything being down for the Memphis Showboats, Davis at wide receiver. Jace Sternberger, Birmingham Stallions as your tight end. Then for his offensive line, he's got Bobby Evans of the Renegades, Matt Caskey of the Stallions, Liam Fortinell of the DC Defenders, Steven Gonzalez of the Battlehawks at center. That was at two guards, and at center, Jake Asenia, Arlington Renegades. On defense, Breland Speaks, Michigan Panthers, 5 week 3-sack performance. Week 5 3-sack performance, on pace for 9 sacks in 10 games. Jalen Redmond, Arlington Renegades for defensive tackle. Carlos Davis, Birmingham Stallions defensive tackle. Ethan Westbrooks, Houston Roughnecks. Pitta Tuamiapuinu of St. Louis Battlehawks continues the Chop Club is maybe one of the deadliest in football. He is one of the best players. He was the defensive player in the UFL, the XFL, continues to do that on a Battlehawks team that is explosive. So he is a player. Linebacker, Tavante Beckett, San Antonio Brahmas. Mike Rose, St. Louis Battlehawks. He was injured a little bit and now is back. Anthony Hines, DC Defenders, linebacker. Michael Joseph, DC Defenders, cornerback. Definitely, he's had some big plays last week. He's always been a good player for the DC Defenders. And Orlenzo Burns, Birmingham Stallions cornerback. Kaya Nakua, Michigan Panthers safety, playing well this season. Kenny Robinson, remember him from the XFL, Birmingham Stallions, leads all safeties with an 84.6 defensive grade and continues to be a commander on the back end of the field. Currently has 16 tackles, 4 PBUs, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. So there you have it. That's the defense. Special teams, no question, Jake Bates, even though he did miss some field goals this past weekend, still crushing it, and just a big leg for him. Brad Wiggs, San Antonio Brahmas as the punter. We knew he had that touchdown. Returner, Darius Shepard, St. Louis Battlehawks. He was great last year. He continues to be good this year. So that is Pat Ruffino's all in the USFL News Hub's all USFL team. Have no problem with any of these picks. It will be interesting to see who breaks all this down at the end of the season, but we kind of know now who is players and who is not. Let us know what you think, if there's any name missing from this list or a name that you would take off this list. Let us know in the comments.
In football, every play counts towards the win, just like every click counts towards growing your business. At CM3 Solutions, we're the game changers you need. With our cutting-edge SEO strategies, we'll put your business in the top league, ensuring you're seen by the fans that matter most, your customers. And when it comes to web design, we craft winning plays with stunning websites that not only look great but perform. From the first click, your audience is engaged with user-friendly designs that score big on customer satisfaction. Need a custom app? We've got the playbook to bring your vision to life, enhancing your digital presence and driving your business forward. So, whether it's SEO, web design, or application development, team up with CM3 Solutions. Let's score those business goals together. CM3 Solutions, where your business wins. Visit us today at cm3solutions.com.
All right, we've got our UFL ratings and attendance for week 5 on Fox and ESPN. First up, according to my main man, Mike Mitchell, the Saturday, April 27th game, Birmingham Stallions versus Houston Roughnecks, and the San Antonio Arlington Regional Cast, 777,000 viewers. St. Louis Battlehawks at your America's Team DC Defenders in a game. Yeah, I forgot about that already. 688,000 viewers on ESPN, and then Memphis and Michigan on Fox, 731,000 viewers. On Saturday evening, of course, that was the combined thing. Attendance at Rice Stadium's 6,285 fans at Rice Stadium. That was there, and the Stallions remained on top. Not good outlook there. San Antonio Brahmas Renegades, 10,283 fans there at Choctaw Stadium. That was a good number. That was a good number for me. I was comfortable with that. I was like, okay, anything in like the 10,000 for, I think 15,000 above for DC, 30 plus thousand for St. Louis. And I think any of these other markets, if they can get above 10,000, I think is good. So Choctaw having with the San Antonio Brahmas there, I think that was good. And then Fox, let's see. Then the St. Louis Battlehawks, DC Defenders, we went up 16,058 in that blowout loss. I thought it was going to be a little bit less, but I was happy with that. But also there was not a Washington Nationals game next door. There will be this weekend, and it was beautiful out. 16,000 is good. I'll be curious if that number holds steady or actually declines because there's a baseball game going on next door. But those baseball fans could come over to Audi Field after that. We'll see how that kind of goes as now like the buzz. But I still talk to a lot of people and they don't have any clue about what the UFL is, or they just know it because I talk about it. Finally, at Simmons Bank Stadium, audience there for the Memphis Showboats fans, 7,640. So there you have it with the attendance numbers there. Not great, and that's why I think Memphis is kind of questionable. Houston, I think, gets a reprieve. Would love to see Memphis in the 10,000 this weekend after the bobblehead thing, but we'll just have to see and find out. 3, 2, 1. All right, you degenerate gamblers. We've got our UFL Week 6 picks. Birmingham Stallions at Memphis Showboats. Stallions are minus 11. The over-under is 43. I'm going my pick Stallions. I'm going on both on the point spread and the money line. So Stallions, I'm picking the under, and then Stallions on the money line. Houston Roughnecks, St. Louis Battlehawks. That game is at 3 o'clock on Saturday. I'm taking the Battlehawks minus 12.5. I'm still taking the Battlehawks. Houston Roughnecks, they can't get out of their own way. 47.5 is the over-under. I'm going to change this to over-under. Why that's in there. I am going with the over on that one just because the Battlehawks will be able to throw up some points. But yeah, I do have the under on the Stallions because I think the Stallions will put up all the points and the Showboats will just kind of be out. I mean, the Showboats, did not look good, have not looked good. We'll see how they do, but I'm not. So I think that one will be the under. I think Birmingham will score the 40 points and Memphis will score 3. I could be wrong. Battlehawks over, and the Battlehawks straight up taking them against the Houston Roughnecks. That's no question there. Arlington Renegades, Michigan Panthers. Michigan Panthers are a good team. Danny Etling, not sure about him yet. This could be a loss for the Panthers. The Renegades played teams so close. Sunday, 1 o'clock game. Panthers minus 4. The over-under is 42, but I'm taking the Panthers and the over, and then the Panthers on the money line as well. This could be a game that I could see Arlington winning, which would be great because it would help your team, my team, the DC Defenders. But they're taking on the San Antonio Brahmas. I'm not sold on Quentin Dormady. He did beat the DC Defenders before, and the Orlando Guardians only win. That's 4 o'clock game. Brahmas are minus 1.5. So I'm taking, I can't pick against my team. In this instance, if I was not a homer boy, I'm worried about the DC Defenders. I mean, St. Louis is a buzzsaw right now. Brahmas, they could beat them. This could go either way. But I really like the Brahmas offense. But I got to go DC Defenders. 42.5 is the over-under. So I'm going Defenders over and Defenders on that one. We hit Finn's parlay last week. Congratulations to Finn the dog. We got the Battlehawks spread, the Renegades Panthers over, and then the Stallions $1 pays $4.10. The parlay of the over-unders, under, over. Dollar pays $13.28. I'm doing also for fun. I did the money line. All my money line picks. The dollar pays $3.72, and then the parlay on the spread, $1 pays $13.28. So there are your picks, your DFS picks. Real quick on the other side of things, on the DFS lineup, I've got AJ McCarron. I would have had him last week, but I couldn't do it. I got AJ McCarron, Pearson, Ja'Cour Pearson as well, Person Jr., running back for the Birmingham Stallions, Davis from Memphis, Chisholm from Houston, and Benjamin Victor from Birmingham and the Stallions defense. I have those guys. Jim, on the other hand, he has got, let's see here. He says, these are his picks. Adrian Martinez. That's if Adrian Martinez plays, because this should be Matt Corral week. Just pointing that out. Matt Corral week should be that. He says, watch Dormady goes off because I'm not playing him. The only two that aren't clear picks are Larry, the big Roundtree, and Mariner. Larry saved my butt last week after cramming him in at value. Who would I even be if I'm not playing to backup running back? Mariner is fast. Arlington has no choice but to play up on the line with their trash D against West Hills. They'll probably take shots to Mariner to open up, and they'll slide back there too. Also, his targets keep going up, so that's a good one. So he's got Martinez, Roundtree, Hakeem Butler, Sternberg, tight end, West Hills. Yeah, I just couldn't get him because the price was too high, but I agree with that. That's a good pick. Mariner, I think, is a good pick. And then, of course, DC Defenders playing Houston if you want to go down in value on the defense. So there you have it with your odds and DFS picks for week 6 in the UFL. All right, let's get into our show notes and your emails and phone calls. Remember, you can email podcast@uflnewshub.com with your thoughts, and also email or call us 888-430-7692 extension 3. So we talked about this earlier in the show. Showboats bobblehead giveaway diaper formula drive. They're doing that this weekend. They have big plans for Saturday, May 4th at Simmons Bank Stadium. The team is giving away Showboats bobbleheads while supplies last and fans attendance against the Stallions, which again, just having the Stallions should be enough, but you know how it is. Kickoff is at 11 a.m. Doors open at 10 a.m. Tickets start at $10. That's for the Showboats, and we have a picture online of the bobblehead, which just got the 23 and the bobblehead on it. I think it even says USFL on it. So this could even be from last year. Looking at it. Oh, yeah, this is like a last year. So this isn't a new thing. You see the USFL, it's got the bobblehead. So I think this is from last year. I don't think this is anything new. So there you have that. Interesting. But with Mother's Day on the horizon, they're also teaming up with FedEx Cares, which we saw some of the players and people within the UFL participate in some kind of thing with FedEx Cares, and they had a diaper baby formula drive to support Mid-South Food Bank. So they're doing those things as well. Donations are accepted at gates 1 and 2 at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Again, I think this would be a great town if they had a strong fan base for the league. It's just not there right now. We'll see if this kind of generates. I'm very curious to see about their attendance numbers with this bobblehead, which is really looks like a recycled bobblehead from last year's USFL. Maybe that helped them as well. If you were wondering if the UFL was going to be back in 2025, well, we can tell you this, that the UFL announced the partnerships for the 2025 season for Specialist Showcase. I know they will definitely be doing it again this year. The camps and the player things, the league was very happy with those last year. So I definitely think they'll be done again, different locations for players to come out and try out for the league. So Nick Novak will be back with kicking consultant, and John Carney, founder of Carney Training Facilities. They both will host specialist showcases for the 2025 season. We've seen kickers and punters do really well in the UFL. Jake Bates is one guy out there. So they will have that. The dates are October 19th, 2024 at Marathon Christian School in San Diego, California. Again, it would be great to have teams in San Diego, California, but just California taxes. And they'll have John Carney's showcase will be December 7th, 2024 in San Diego, California as well. And you can sign up. All that stuff is on UFL News Hub. And the Showboats also trying to generate some juice before this game. They're having a youth clinic on Friday with the players in town, host a free youth skills clinic from 4 to 6 on Friday, May 3rd for kids 8 to 17. Players and coaches will be in attendance, and they'll learn proper fundamentals. The clinic will have free pizza for all taking part, as well as prizes and giveaways. Tickets will be there. All participants will receive a free ticket for the Memphis Showboats Stallions game set for 11 a.m. Saturday. So they're doing everything they can to generate interest in Showboats. And again, I think that the Showboats, they're kind of like my second team. I like the Showboats as my second team. It's just, the juice is just not happening there. And it hasn't happened, but they're trying. They're trying. I'm really curious how attendance will be this weekend. All right. With that being said, let's get to our first phone call. Our only phone call, by the way. But our phone call, 888-430-7692, extension 3.
Hi, Mark. This is Leck from Indianapolis, making my first call of the season. And I'm really enjoying the season so far. I was really glad about the merger when I heard about it. I think it's the best thing for all parties. And it's great that the majority of the games are on regular TV. That'll definitely expose us to a lot of potential fans. I'm a little concerned about the attendance, especially for the USFL teams. The XFL teams seem to be doing a lot better. Of course, I just wish we could find a bunch of cities that'll support their team like St. Louis supports the Battlehawks. But, hopefully we'll at least keep gaining an audience. And I'm hoping for an expansion team here in Indianapolis. This is a very big football state, and during the UFL season, the only competition we'd have would be the last 2 or 3 weeks of the NBA season, and then the Indianapolis 500 in May. Other than that, we'd own the sports calendar. I think we'd draw very, very well. I'm pleased to report that I discovered that the Memphis Showboats have their own terrestrial radio station, WKIM. You can stream it on your mobile device or online, and I listened to the broadcast yesterday. It was a great broadcast. So hopefully every team will get its own station. And then finally, thanks so much for all you do for twice a week giving us a great podcast that condenses all the essential UFL information. But please remember, we'll always be understanding and patient with you when you need to take time off to attend to your wife. She comes first. So just treasure every moment with her and take the best care of her that you can. Hopefully she'll make a full and speedy recovery. We're all on your side. We're all here to give you encouragement and support. So thanks for all you do. Best wishes, and hope to see you at a game soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, man, thanks for the phone call. Appreciate the kind words about my wife. Yeah, she's doing good. I mean, her numbers got better this past week. She's been at the games. You saw the vlog that we did about, going to the game. We're going to be at the game this weekend. I'm actually playing drums at church and then straight to the game. So, but this time we're just coming straight home from it, but it's a 4:00 game. So yeah, she definitely got tired at the end of the game. Probably should have been a better husband and been like, okay, well, let's kind of, it's a blowout. Let's go home. But I didn't. And I apologized later after that. But she's a trooper and she's doing well. I appreciate everybody's sentiment when it comes to her. Hopefully the DC can win and we can donate some more blood there. As far as the Indianapolis expansion, I'm going to pull up here largest markets in the U.S. Let's see here by population, U.S. markets. So where does Indiana? Just to give you an idea, let's take a look here. All right, to give you an idea, here is the top 100 television markets in the United States, and this is just kind of like this kind of gives you an idea, and I think this is why, and I think Indianapolis. That is intriguing because Indianapolis would work. Well, let's take a look at what market it is. Would work if you could get Pat McAfee to own a franchise in the UFL. Dude's got money now. Dude has got some serious cash and would probably love the idea of owning a UFL franchise, his own football franchise. I think that would, if you could get him to own a franchise, I think it's game on. I would, but let's take a look at this market. So, and this is why I was saying before, we just didn't have the traffic like we did before because New York and Los Angeles are out. So those are two, and then we've heard that those markets aren't going to be touched. And this is why I said earlier, Philadelphia. So Chicago is 3, and Philadelphia is 4. That's why I think this Philadelphia Stars need to return because that is a big market. Never heard Dallas Fort Worth. We have a team in Arlington. They're there. San Francisco, Oakland, they're out. Boston, I haven't heard anybody talk about Boston. I feel like Atlanta is a bad sports town. I've always felt that way. Washington, D.C. at number 9. Of course, the D.C. Defenders. At number 10 is Houston. Then you have Detroit. Again, the Michigan Panthers. That's why I think maybe they might survive, even though that's kind of meh. Phoenix. And then at 13 is Tampa. So the Tampa Bay Bandits could return potentially, but I haven't heard anything about Tampa. But I think sports-wise, Florida is kind of wishy-washy. 14, Seattle. Hence why I think Seattle will return to the UFL next season. Minneapolis, 15. Cleveland is 17. Denver, 18. Orlando, 19. So look at you, what you just lost. Seattle and Orlando are in the top 20 markets in the U.S. At number 21, St. Louis, crushing it. Then you have Portland, Pittsburgh, Charlotte. There's 25. Indianapolis. I'm game. I think that's a good idea. If they're 25 and they're looking at Nashville, which is 29, San Diego is 28, Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, that is 27, and then Baltimore, go DC Ravens. They're at 26. So Indianapolis is at 25. I have not heard, and Charlotte is at 24. Pittsburgh at 23. Pittsburgh Maulers might do well in that location if they played it at like that soccer stadium type thing. I don't know why they don't go for more soccer stadiums. It just gives it a sense of it's packed. Could you imagine playing the DC Defenders playing at whatever Commander Stadium is? it would feel empty. I think they need to go that route of the soccer stadiums. I think that would work. But Indianapolis, number 5, I'm game. I think in Indianapolis is a good location as well. You got San Diego, Nashville at 29, Hartford, New Haven at 30. That'd be cool to have a team in Connecticut. Kansas City, Columbus, Salt Lake, Cincinnati is 34, Milwaukee 35, San Antonio is 37, Birmingham is 40. Hence, that's like Birmingham is 40 on this list. And we still haven't, let's see, Jacksonville is 47, Memphis, and this is part of the problem. They're 48. Memphis is 48. They are probably the smallest market. New Orleans is 53. Wow, Scranton is 54 if New Orleans is 53. Richmond is in there, Knoxville, Tulsa, Dayton, Roanoke. Now you're getting small here. So Memphis is the smallest of the locations that they have. But you see, when you put in Indianapolis is 25, I think that's a good one. But Seattle, 14. Put a team in Denver. And then St. Louis at 21. So that kind of gives you an idea. So I like the idea of Indianapolis expansion. I think if Pat McAfee was owner, that would be a home run. Memphis radio, yeah, I've heard that they have their own local markets. I think Memphis is trying. They're trying. There's just no juice. Come on, Memphis. What is wrong with you? I mean, but again, having that small market, I think bringing in Philadelphia, I think the home runs for the teams next year, I honestly think Philadelphia, you need to bring in Philadelphia and you need to bring in Seattle, bring in those two franchises. And I think that's why they're looking at that Cleveland Akron is 17. Canton, you might be able to get away with it there. But, I've kind of heard wishy-washy about Canton as a home location. But that kind of gives you an idea about the television markets. But why New York and Los Angeles, without them, why at least for our numbers, we're a lot less, because those are huge markets with lots of people. So appreciate the phone call. Thank you. Always call 888-430-7692. We appreciate that. Mike from Indianapolis. Don checking in says, could call my friend. You ask about MVPs at this point in the season. For offense, I'm going with A.J. McCarron for all the right reasons. And my defensive MVP is Kayava Tenzio of the Stallions, 35 tackles with 21 solos. Yeah, I mean, Stallions are stacked. Other thoughts? If you had asked me at week 3 what I would have thought of the Renegades being 0-3, I would have told you they would be a much better team than their record shows. But now that they are 0-5, I think their record shows who they are. I've seen sloppy pay, maybe a lack of confidence. The game I look forward to watching the most this week is San Antonio and DC. The results of this game will go a long way to determining who makes the playoffs. Don, check it in. Yes, 100%. If DC loses this, then I think we've got what our playoff team, unless Michigan Panthers lose, I think that's all she wrote for far as playoffs goes. I'm still going all the games. I don't care about that. And finally, Lee says, check in, is talking about the midseason review about the expansion talks. He said, put a team in Ohio and I will go. Until then, I'm not interested. Ohio, Cleveland, Akron, 17 on that list. Maybe you'll have a team. And that's the thing. I think if there's more teams in the league, at least for our websites and everything else, that's more interest. And I have heard that they could potentially make this announcement before the season's over, about when I was saying to make an announcement before the playoffs, but they might do it sooner. And I would do, when you have those locations locked in, or even tease, week 8, UTs will be announcing week 10 of 5 potential locations coming in 2025. And like just tease it out there and throw out 5 or 6 of them, knowing that you only have 1 or 2 that you're going to use, just to generate buzz, interest, whatever it does. And that should, ramp interest up, especially then leading you into the playoffs. So I've heard that maybe they could announce something before season's end. But anyway, that's it for me this week. Enjoy this weekend's games. I'll be at the Defenders game. Hopefully they win. We're probably going to go to Solus Outpost first, this time instead of Walters. For those who are interested, want to stop by and say hello. My wife will be there, going with some friends and bringing more friends. Make sure you bring friends to the games. I'm bringing a bunch of friends in the next 2 weeks after that, next 2 home games after that. So that's important as well. Life is doing good. God is good. Playing drums at church, then to the game, DC Defenders game. Doesn't get any better than that. That's it for me. Remember, 888-430-7692, extension 3. If you want to be part of the show, call in, give us your thoughts. Also, email podcast@uflnewshub.com. Got our tickets. We got our schedule all set. Trying to plan out everything for our St. Louis trip. That is in the books. We've got the plane tickets. We've got the hotel. We're excited about that. And planning trips and all sorts of fun stuff for this summer. So God is good. Enjoy the weather. It's nice out there. It's going to be a beautiful day at the games. Enjoy the games, my friends. We'll be back with a recap on Monday. That's it for me, folks. As always, God bless, and I will see you all later.